Evening. It's time for another episode of Littleton Pmbc. I'd like to open the meeting. This is a Zoom meeting. The town of Littleton began conducting remote participation pursuant to the Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law on March 19th. Since that time, unanticipated legal concerns related to the open meeting law have been brought to our attention by the town clerk. The concerns were supported by the Attorney General's office and confirmed by the town council. One concern is that the chat function allows a parallel text conversation to the board's public meeting. Chat is essential running commentary that is occurring, but it is not moderated or followed by the chair. All participants and listeners may not be aware of comments being made because some meeting participants joined by phone and do not see the conversations. Another concern is conversations between residents within the chat room, which are not incorporated into the public record. In response to these concerns, the town will implement the following changes, which in no way prohibit any member of the public from participating in the discussion, sharing information during the public meeting, and will ensure that all listeners and participants have equal access to the meeting. People that join the Zoom meeting are set so that their microphones are muted. If you call in by phone, please use the *6 to mute or unmute your phone. So that the meeting can occur in an orderly fashion, we ask that people who join keep their microphones on mute so background noises do not interfere with the meeting. If you wish to participate, please use the raise your hand function available on Zoom, or if you call in by phone, *9, which will activate the raise your hand function. The meeting host will notify the chairperson of the raised hands, and the chairperson will determine whether and when to allow public comment. When called upon, participants should unmute, then state their name and address. After speaking, we request the participant return the microphone back to mute. In addition to these new rules, all votes that we take in the meeting will be by roll call. So I'd like to start the meeting, if I can find my agenda. And I call the meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. The first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes of April 8th as revised. We'll go through a roll call vote. Trying to figure out who's on the meeting here. Brian. Okay, so has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes? Okay, so all the board members, please unmute your phone.
Steve, I just have one comment on it.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
The Brian's name's got to be corrected. I already sent Marilyn an email to let her know that it needs to be corrected. But other than that, I didn't see anything else wrong.
Oh, yeah, I did notice that. It's F-O-R-S, not F-O-R-E-S. Right?
Yeah, and it's B-R-Y instead of B-R-I.
Okay. Okay, so she's aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to have a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
Second.
Daryl moved, and who seconded?
I'll second it.
Bob seconds. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, you have to state your name and then say aye.
Brian Pasquale, aye.
Bob Romley, aye.
Daryl Baker, aye.
Mike Scaduto, aye.
Steve Moore, aye.
Richard Crowley, aye.
Okay, motion carries. We have a warrant this evening. I sent that out to everybody. We have two invoices on the warrant. The first one is an advertisement in the Lowell Sun for 12 Robinwood Road roof replacement for $180.96. And the second invoice is from Vertex Corporation for design services for the library, $8,700. I'm sorry, for OPM services for the library, $8,700, for a total of $8,880.96. Any discussion?
Just one question on it, Steve.
Yeah.
Does the advertisement for the Lowell Sun, does that go back to the CPF funds there, or back to the
CPC funds?
CPC funds, yeah.
It should, yeah. Yep, that would go to the 12 Robinwood account.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the warrant?
I make a motion, we approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And who was that?
That was Brian Pasquale, second.
Okay. Let's try to make a habit of announcing our names. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Bob Romley.
Darrell Baker, aye.
Mike Scaduto, aye.
Rich Crowley, aye.
Steve Moore, aye. Motion passes. Okay, now we'll go on to the updates. I'm going to turn this over to Brian so he can give us an update on the library and the police station.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks for having me, everybody. Thanks for approving my invoice and getting me paid as well.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So we'll start from where we left off 2 weeks ago with the library and the police stations. We've had some good progress. First, we can start with the library. Last we spoke, pre-qualification was just ending, and we were notifying all 83 filed sub-bids that they were qualified to bid on the project. We sent them a letter inviting them to bid and instructing them where to find the construction documents that could be downloaded from Bid Docs Online. Since then, I've checked in with all filed subcontractors that have been pre-qualified and made sure that they intend on still bidding the project. We've had one or two outliers, not sure if they have the capacity at this time, but we're having a very good hit rate of the downloads online, as well as speaking with the people that are excited to bid on this project. So that's a very good sign. Some other updates that we have. Our permit set is due from Johnson Roberts to be sent to the town very soon. This will be sent from Commodore to the town in order to pull the building permit. We expect that this week. We'll also be providing the town administrator with easement drawings, civil easement drawings for the utilities that are going to be coming onto the property. So we'll be getting those from the engineer of record, who's GGD, to provide them to the town administrator so that we can get that in front of town council to make sure that there's no issues with the easements coming onto the property. Looking at Commodore builder schedule at this point, the GMP, which is the maximum price, that will be prepared and is scheduled to be presented to the board and ready for construction the first week of June. We currently have two meetings that have to be two hearings that need to be heard first from the town. First is Concom, that is scheduled for the 27th of April. And the planning board, which is scheduled for the 4th of May. I've been working with Mark Rambacher, who's on. He's been a lot of help talking and facilitating, being kind of my conduit between the two boards. Both boards have been agreeable to use the same third-party reviewer for the town. That's currently, the drawings are currently with the third-party reviewer right now, and we're hoping to get comments back. They told me tomorrow, at the latest on Friday, so that we can get them to the engineer of record, get their comments implemented into the drawings, and hopefully have our hearings closed out, like we said, on the 27th and the 4th. At that point, a little update on Commodore Builders. They're also putting their bids together for all their other subcontractors that are not filed sub bids. And like I said, they'll be taking the filed sub results, which are due on the 5th of May, combining them with their subcontractors and presenting a GMP to the board and to Vertex for review. At that point, there's about a week of review and make sure that there's adequate funding by the town. And at that point, if in agreement and all goes well, we'd be sending out a notice to proceed for construction at that point. So any questions with the library project right now? We're still in a waiting period. I think that we're having some pretty strong participation by the subcontractors online. I think a lot of people are working from home, so that was a good sign. And we'll see on the 5th how our numbers come in relation to the budgets that were set forth by Johnson Roberts.
Yeah, Brian, I just want to acknowledge representatives from the library that are online: Mark Rombacher, Dave Sill, and Harvey Bartlett.
Yep. All right. If there are no other questions, and feel free to jump in at any time.
One question: Are we in? I know we're still a bit out. Are we anticipating any construction delays with the current environment we're in?
Yeah, good question. Like I had said in the previous meeting, working on the other library in Medford right now, we were deemed non-essential and we're shut down. So we're still in a waiting pattern right now. Without hearing anything new, we were under the assumption from the old governor's recommendations that May 4th was going to be the shutdown until yesterday's acknowledgement that school is going to be canceled for the remaining of the school year. So that might change things. We're not exactly sure. The one thing that is a benefit to this project is once we do give the notice to proceed, there's a lot of administrative work and a lot of submittals and releasing of materials that still needs to happen. So that will be a question for probably next month when we start to understand exactly when the notice to proceed is going to be sent out, where we look at from a COVID-19 standpoint, and whether or not steel manufacturing plants are up and running at that point.
So one item of note, the Carpenters Union did go back to work this week.
Correct.
And there were some guidelines issued for vertical construction, which I believe are being, followed by the industry.
Correct. I do believe even if we are allowed to go back to work on active construction sites that were deemed non-essential, I think there is still going to be some pretty strict site safety protocols that are going to be adhered to for all construction. So we'll make sure that Commodore's site's specific safety plan is updated and that all guidelines are being adhered to on site.
So this is Mark. Right now, MBLC has a hold on all construction projects as well. So we have to wait for that hold to clear.
Correct.
Which will probably clear whenever Baker's hold clears. They, as part of the construction building libraries, has been deemed non-essential construction at this point. So once the governor grants the right to proceed, MBLC we also have to wait for MBLC. So it is two steps, but they'll probably be fairly close in sequence, I would assume.
Right. In the Medford project, we have been working with the MBLC representative, and to be honest, they were the reason why construction was postponed. They went directly to the governor's office and asked that same question, which in turn got the answer that they were deemed non-essential. So I'll make sure. My contact is Andrea. Is that the same for you, Mark? Do you know?
I didn't think we've been going through Laura, but I'm not.
Laura? Okay.
Positive.
I'll make sure that we're in contact with them as well when we feel as though we're getting close to getting the green light in our other project to make sure we're good here as well.
Okay.
Any other questions on the library? Okay, we'll move over to police.
Moving over to police, after a delay in the receiving of our report, we finally received it on last Friday. from CBI, which gave a kind of a rundown in conjunction with the old Vertex report with their recommendations and order of magnitude for fixing the facade of the police station. I went through the report. I generated some questions and comments that I have based upon some of their assumptions. Not to reject some of their findings, but I wanted to kind of pick their brain a little on exactly where they were getting some of their assumptions. So part of their contract that we signed with the PMBC was having a follow-up meeting after their findings to go over their price order magnitudes and what their recommendations are, possibly for even phasing this type of work and maybe prioritizing what is most important here to make sure that the leaking inside the building doesn't happen anymore. So currently we're scheduling a Zoom meeting. I haven't heard back from CBI yet. We want to get this done in the next few days so that we can get the ball rolling on whether or not we're going to proceed with construction documents and the direction we want to go with this. The plan of action will follow after that meeting, and we can determine exactly as a group how we want to proceed with the police station. So,
could you clarify the how much the additional would be for replacement of the windows?
Yep.
I see the two prices here, but I don't quite track exactly how they follow in from the text.
So as in the way that I determine it, are you looking for just how much is it going to cost if we do the original scope of work, but then we also switch out the windows?
Yeah, because I can't tell if it's 120,000 or 200,000 based on the way the alternates are worded there.
Yep. The way that I see it, if you scroll down to page 13, contained in the alternate number 1 with the new windows, the division 8 is the actual materials of the aluminum windows with the bulletproof glass. The line item for the schedule of values of that, they have 84,000.
Okay.
Those are lump sum numbers that are probably taken off of a formula that they have. So I would hope that that's a bit conservative.
And then the rest of the work is for the installation of those and the additional work necessary to incorporate them in?
For alternate 1?
Yeah. So you're right. I see the 84,000 for the windows, and
yep.
Then the bottom line looked like 120.
At the bottom, it looked like, yes, correct. So what else that also incorporates, once you take the old windows out, part of their report was talking about adding some additional insulation and flashing on the inside cavities. Part of their concern was that due to the windows being wood, that cavity that's in between the decorative CMU and the actual CMU, that void is actually creating a lot of rot on the side of the windows. So if you take the wood windows out, replace them with aluminum, also putting in some new flashing and insulation in that cavity, and that's where you see those added numbers from.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure I understand. I just thought it was the additional work necessary to finish out the package, but I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
They put another alternate on here for the metal cornice, as well as putting some work in the original scope for repointing and rebuilding of some of the masonry. And if you read through if you get into the details of their report, it seems as though the masonry may not be as important in their opinion to do as much as the windows and the lintels and the headers above the windows. So depending on the appetite for how much money this is going to cost, it's a good conversation to have with CBI about how we want to prioritize this work if we don't have to do the bullnose water table and the cornice around the perimeter of the building.
So I guess that just draws me to ask, what is the proper way it should be repaired? And then obviously if there's a significant difference in price, we need to do that. But what would be the recommended repair? Because it wasn't clear, and I wasn't clear based on the way you described it, which one was the preferred way of repairing it.
Got it. What's the priority for them?
No, what would be the the assessment of what is the proper way of repairing it, which is independent of the cost of repairing it?
Yep.
Right.
The way that I understood their report is the #1 priority and the most effective way of fixing and mitigating this problem is to rip all the windows out, rip all of the decorative veneer headers off of the windows, and put a new flashing of zinc copper coated flashing above all of the metal above the windows, as well as providing new weeps through the exterior facade. And provide new insulation and flashing around the window cavity and replacing that.
They also talked about sills.
I'm sorry?
They also talked about sills.
Correct. I'm sorry. Yes, the lintel headers, and then as well as the sills. That I think that's also the zinc copper coated that they had talked about in their report. At that point, the second portion of that is the water infiltration due to the integrity of the mortar on the facade and the water getting into that cavity. I believe that they want to mitigate the amount of water that's getting into the cavity after, well, that would be the second priority in comparison to what they said first about the window headers and sills and flashing.
That would be by using soft joints where the dissimilar materials are? Correct.
They would be grinding out some of the mortar joints there and creating new soft joints. They felt as though there weren't any soft joints there that was creating, it wasn't letting the building move at all, therefore providing a lot of cracking in that mortar.
So one thing I noticed that was missing from the report was any kind of recommendation about the heating cooling system.
Yep. Regarding the HVAC interior of the building and that creating the humidity in the cavity, that's making the condensation.
That's right. There's obviously no controls over the amount of humidity that's in the air in the building. They don't have a wet bulb control system in there. And I didn't see any recommendation that they even look at it.
Okay. I'll put that definitely on my list about what their recommendation is about interior.
They talk at length about the lintel sweating.
Yep.
But they don't talk about some of the alternative controls to prevent that sweating.
Right.
Ryan, should we be looking at maybe a dehumidifier system for that building too?
Well, that's what this would do. Yeah.
Right.
And if that's the if they had a dehumidification system that's triggered by the amount of humidity in the air, that might actually help alleviate some of the situation.
Sure. I do think having that lintel, which is also exposed to that cavity, though, we're also being exposed to some of the atmospheric conditions outside.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the wood in the cavity, it's just beyond my imagination how that got by anybody.
Right. So, more to follow on that. That's a great point, though, Rich. Thank you. I'll make sure I put that in my notes and bring that up about, thinking a little bit outside the box.
Yeah.
So, with that, is there any other questions with police or library at this time?
Well, thanks a lot, Brian. Appreciate your report.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.
Yeah, Brian.
Thanks, Bob.
Next, we'll move on to the Houghton building and report from Rich.
Yeah, the painter's in there. He's been in there a week now, almost 2. And he's in the front 2 rooms. He's got most of the prep done in the front 2 rooms. They're doing some primer right now on the prepped areas, and they can do the ceiling color. They're waiting for the wall color. I guess is we need to get that wall color from the Historical Society. Apparently they thought that they could just reused the same wall color, but it was a different company that ordered it, that it came from, and the color numbers are 2 generations old. So the company that's in business over there now gave the closest example to the color that was put on, and I guess the Historical Society decided that wasn't the color they wanted. So Olaylor has been trying out several different shades of that color. I think they've got about 8 on the walls. And as far as I know, as late as this after, it hadn't been picked yet. They're going to run out of work. I'd say they probably have a day, and then they'll be out of work. Otherwise, their goal is to get those 2 rooms done, and then swap the furniture over. All the furniture's in the big display room out back, and they'll swap that furniture back and work the display room. Now, Steve, is this a good time to bring up change order?
It is the time to bring it up. Yes.
All right. We have a change order from Olaylor. Originally, they were contracted for 14.3, and when I descoped them, it looked like they didn't have prevailing wage, and so we had to get them up to prevailing wage, and that's what this change order is about. It's I don't know if you sent it out to everybody, Steve. I didn't today.
I don't know that I've seen it.
Yeah, I have sent it to you. Let's see.
Okay. I think I probably got about 40 emails from you.
Yeah, the change order is in the amount of, give me a second here.
So at any rate, while Rich is looking for that, we did pass this by Cheryl and the town administrator. It still comes in below the available money for the that we have remaining in the project.
It does, just below.
Yeah.
Now let's see. For every email you got, I got 2 pieces of paper here.
I don't doubt it.
Let's see. Let's see. Lease agreement. I had it right in my hands this afternoon.
Welcome, Joe.
It would help if I had the right folder in front of me. Okay.
I didn't want to interrupt.
That's right.
Go ahead.
For some reason, I thought the meeting started at 7:30. My apologies.
No worries.
All right. The change order amount is for $5,459.84. Their original contract value was $14,300. The final contract value will be $19,759.84.
So that brings us into compliance with the procurement requirements that they'd be prevailing rate.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Now we had the other bidder. We had one other firm bid from New Bedford, and they were 26.6, I believe. So they were both in the same ballpark. We had a total of, we went out to a total of 6 firms for pricing. And out of the 6 firms, we had two firms that gave us prices, 2 firms that told us they couldn't do it because of their schedule, and 2 firms that just never got back to us. We called and emailed and did what we could to did what I could to try to get some response out of them. So out of the 6, we got 1. And this was the only one that met the budget. And the guy that's in there right now, it's a small firm. It's himself and his cousin, and they're doing a tremendous job. It's a historical preservation is basically what they're doing, and they're doing a tremendous job on it. Well, it's been over a week just prepping 2 rooms.
So do you want to make a motion on your
yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the change order for 545984.
Second.
We have a second, I guess.
Yeah.
All in favor, state your name and then yes.
Bob Bromley, yes.
Darrell Baker, yes.
Mike
Richard
Scaduto,
Crowley, yes.
Oh. Brian Pasquale, yes.
Steve Moore, yes.
Okay, that's the change order. Now,
motion carries.
Now, Steve, you mentioned today that I can't bring up the issue of payment to these guys. They gave me 2 requisitions as well.
Well, we can't. We've already voted on the warrant. Those invoices were not on the warrant, and so we can't. I mean, you can talk about it, but there's nothing we can do with those invoices until the next meeting.
Okay, there are 2 invoices that have been submitted. One is for $7,150, which is half of the first for the contract amount, and the other is for the balance, which is around 12,000 something. Hopefully we'll meet and approve those. Well, we'll meet 2 weeks and approve them. He'll probably be done and gone by then. I didn't realize that we were putting in invoices on Friday because I could have had them in my hand on Friday.
Well, at any rate, sounds like he's doing a good job, and you know, let's make sure that we get the invoices in good time before the next meeting.
You have them in your email, one of those emails.
I think you submitted them to Michelle, didn't you?
And you and to James as well.
To
Joseph.
Joe.
Joseph.
Joe. Yeah. Okay.
Joe.
Okay. Well, we'll get them. We'll do a review of the work, and then we'll get them queued up for the next meeting. Anything else on Houghton?
Nothing.
Okay, great. Next item is DPW Roof Repairs. I talked to Chris Stoddard either earlier this week or last week. Because of the virus, they're kind of on hold. They've got some submittals in, but you know, no work is planned at this point until the virus's situation has been resolved. LYBS, Brian, anything on that?
Yes. So I did a Zoom meeting last week with Dan and one of his board members, Norm, just to kind of go through the scope and what their plans were. At this time, he was a little unsure about the fundraising, even more so than he was when he presented to us back in February. So he was unsure if the fundraising was going to be able to support doing it this year. But he wanted to go ahead with getting some prices together just to be able to kind of see what it's going to cost to get into it. So with that, he kind of passed on all the documentation he had from putting this together originally back in the fall. And since then, I've talked to Pat over at Littleton Electric Light, and he kind of gave me a layout of where the transformers are over there that we would need to go to for the power. And I've reached out to Bratton Electric just for a preliminary. I made it clear to them this is not a hard bid or anything. We're just looking for a preliminary budget price, order of magnitude price to do the full install. So they're working on putting that together based on all the layouts that we have from Littleton Light and from LYBS, and as well as the installation instructions that we have from the lighting vendor, Musco.
Terrific. Okay.
So probably from the school committee perspective, I could probably project that this project's not going to happen this calendar year. So we don't have to be making plans relative to any on-site construction.
All right, that's good to know. I appreciate that, Darryl.
Well, no, I mean, that's what I want to probably. I need to report back to the committee so they know what's going on and the administration there. Based on the way you're describing it, it doesn't sound like we're doing that install this year.
I would say, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Dan because it really sounds like it's up to him with the funding. But it didn't sound promising that they were going to be able to pull together the funding with all that's going on. Without having a spring season to do fundraising,
right,
and not being able to kind of lean on local businesses and local folks for donations as much as he had planned. But I don't, I don't want to entirely rule it out. We're still going to price it up and see where it comes in.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Anything else on Littleton baseball? All right. New business. Is there any new business? Hearing none, we'll go to public input. Any public input? Member input. Brian, any member input?
No input from me, Brian Pasquale. Nope.
Okay. Mike, any member input?
No input from me. Mike Scaduto.
Okay. Rich, any member input?
You're muted, Rich.
Darryl, any member input?
Okay, I'm here now. Yeah.
Well, I guess you're going to get me until almost the end of June now, since the election's been pushed off.
Outstanding. That's great. Great news.
Steve, Bob Romley, nothing from me.
Okay, and nothing from me. So,
and I'm unmuted now.
Okay, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah. The only additional input I could make would be to suggest we approve some invoices tonight.
Well, we did.
The ones that are for the painter.
No, we can't do that. But thanks for the thought. All right. Now that we're done with member input, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Bob Romley.
Second, Darryl Baker.
Okay. All in favor?
Darryl Baker, aye.
Bob Romley, aye.
Mike Scaduto, aye.
Rich Crowley, aye.
Brian Pasquale, aye.
Steve Moore, aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.